sale of truck. Report's pretty clear. Councillor Peters, you've spoken to the committee about the prospects and immediacy of the future event.
Mr Mayor, I did. First of all, Mr Mayor, I'm going to raise that Councillor Plum just asked me outside, do I have any sort of a COI here? So I want to put that on the table before I proceed.
So this is a council-owned asset, I'll just clarify that. This is on our assets register, Brett.
It's council-owned asset.
Right. So you have no, I can't see how you have a COI.
Can I also add that I'm chair of the Harry Redford Committee, which is an advisement committee to council.
Which probably only even clarifies once again that you don't have a COI.
Is everyone okay with that? Or I can declare it and just ask for council to vote. I'd like to probably do that, Mr Mayor, if I could.
Issue from councillors on any COI.
I'll just make it a declared COI.
Can I have somebody move where the councillor people stays in the room and remains on the participating? You will?
Participate due to you having more information.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Seconded, Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? Carried 6-0.
Thanks, councillors. Look, I had a ring around to some of the other people that are on the committee. They have asked, could we possibly have a Harry Redford meeting in July, August, somewhere there. They would like to, we haven't had a cattle drive as it says here in this report for some time, I understand that, but that's due to drought. I would like to, especially David Hay, who's been our boss road, contributed a lot to this drive over many years. He has asked, could we first have a meeting and see what the interest is in the community if they want to have reignite the cattle drive, and then come back to council with, look, we don't know if we're going to go. If we don't go, we'll put the truck up for auction then. If we do go, we hang on to the truck and run a cattle drive next year. That's probably the response I've got.
The response you've got from the committee is not necessarily opposed to it, they just want to clarify the position around future immediate utilisation of it.
That's right.
Council, does anyone have a contrary opinion?
Mr Mayor, it's not necessarily contrary. Do we have other options for securing a similar truck to that, just for that period and not have it sit there for so long?
Hire one.
Well, it does talk about hiring one, but ideally, yeah, if we could confirm information like that, either out of the community or property owners that, or a commercial interest that might be able to supply that as well. Just so that we have some more clarity about that, if we do decide to sell it, regardless of whether the Harry Redford goes ahead or not, that's an option. Like it's not going to be too difficult to replace it.
Joe, I can answer directly outright on that, notwithstanding hang on, if the decision is to hang on to this today and see whether the next cattle drive is close or not. Yeah, I'd gladly donate a truck for the use of the cattle drive, you know, to move horses around and be be on site if that was an issue, if that would help the issue long term around the sporadic nature of some of these drives and having an asset sitting there depreciating without being utilised. Yeah, I'd happily personally donate a truck for that down the track, and that keeps a relatively long maintained vehicle that they've got at their disposal rather than hoping that hoses and pipes and everything haven't cracked because they've been sitting there for years not being used.
Mr Mayor, probably also to Councillor Arthur's point there, I don't think, I don't know what you could use it for, but there's no reason why council couldn't use it. If they so decide to take the crate off it and do something with it, instead of leaving it sit there. Also, David Hay said if council agreed, he would put it in his shed at Kismet to keep it out of the weather too. That'd be another option for council to consider if they wanted to.
So, councillors, is the feeling that we defer the decision to a later meeting?
I'm happy to, Mr Mayor. It's not a big ticket item. It's not going to hold council up doing too much.
Okay, you haven't moved that. Okay, move Councillor Arthur, seconded Councillor Plum, that the truck sale being deferred, to a decision for the sale of the truck deferred to a future meeting. Those in favour? Opposed? Carried 7-0. 347, proposed special reserve Edgbaston. Councillors, I have some comments on this. Just want to confirm that there's no additional correspondence to this, Brett, other than what we've got here.
No, Mr Mayor, that's...
Okay, so it hasn't, as of yet, councillors, my interpretation of the letter on pages 59 and 60 of your agenda, the declaration hasn't actually yet happened. Just to clear up any confusion there, so this is being assessed. It's in its preliminary stage. On the evidence that's presented to us here today, I don't feel there's suitable recognition given to the impact on surrounding landowners from pest weeds or vertebrate press, especially but not limited to wild dogs and feral pigs. Given that the area is historically used for sheep and cattle grazing, the significance of a declared special wildlife reserve, in my opinion, could cause significant environmental and economic harm to the areas immediately adjacent to the parcel of land outlined in this request. It is my personal opinion that the land and animals which are in evidence at this location are not wholly unique to either the local region or the broader bioregion, and given the amount of remnant vegetation in the immediate locality not subject to enhanced development, subject to the relevant prescriptions of the Vegetation Management Act. With the evidence in front of me in this report, it doesn't outline the steps that will be taken to either minimise or eliminate those risks on adjoining landowners. I have no choice but to register my concerns here today, and I will not at this time be able to support the officer's recommendation. Further thoughts?
I spoke to one landholder who is one of the adjoining landholders, Mr Mayor, and they pretty much expressed the same concerns that you just spoke to. So yes, I totally concur with what you just said.
Councillor Hanson?
It's here, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Arthur?
Mr Mayor, the national parks that are in that area, they're unmanned. So Cudmore and Forest End.
Yes, they most I'm not aware of the particulars of Forest End, but I am very aware of Cudmore. It is definitely unmanned.
So we have similar issues that you just spoke to around those unmanned
Correct.
or armed personnel.
And the conditions that are outlined at the link for special wildlife reserves that is alluded to in the letter outlines that it is essentially the conduct of the nature refuge of this is in line with the national park. So another concern that I didn't just articulate is the concern around managing wildfire concerns, and the Cudmore National Park, so I can speak as a first officer as well as a local, the Cudmore National Park is an extreme fire hazard all year round. But my primary concern is on economic grounds. I'm very concerned about additional landholders due to the prevalence of pest weeds and vertebrate pests that inevitably inhabit these locations once they're declared. Councillor Plum?
Yeah, I'm agreeable with that.
Did you have any further questions?
No, Mr Mayor, thank you.
Councillor Rogers?
I agree, and also I don't really understand. I think I don't have enough information about what a special wildlife reserve entails, like you said.
So I did just
totally unmanned, and if it's a special wildlife reserve, does that mean that everyone in the community's like banned from ever setting foot on it, like that no one gets to go there, like, you know?
I don't think that is the case. There is, at the link that's referred to on page 59, there is some substantial information about the ecological benefits, and it doesn't extinguish native title, so it's not prescriptive in a negative fashion against First Nations peoples, but they are unrevocable, or they can be revoked, but the declaration is a perpetual declaration, which is another concern to me. It actually requires an Act of Parliament to be revoked, which is outlined in that information that's referred to on page 59. So, yeah, I'm not sure the prevalence of our information on the Minister's decision or on the Department's decision, but I believe as the statements I said earlier speak for themselves, that it would be disadvantageous without further information that is not to hand for us to support this from an economic and ecological sustainability point of view, not only for the immediately adjoining land holders but for the region more generally. So I seek that we change the resolution. The council advises the Department of Science that it has objections to the declaring of Edgbaston as a special wildlife reserve. We need to document further to this resolution, if it's carried, the reasons why the officer's recommendation has been overturned, and what I read to you before was a prepared comment, which I'd be happy for to be summarised as stating that we as a council are concerned that there hasn't been due regard and consideration given to the infestation of pest weeds and vertebrate pests on the surrounding properties.
Can't move that.
You can, Councillor Gleeson. Second, Councillor Hanson. Debate? Seeing none. Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried 7-0. Can you just list the other reasons, please? Probably after the carried. Doesn't have to be in the resolution itself, I don't believe. It doesn't. It does. Sorry, we'll have to amend the resolution. Council, full stop still. Council has taken an alternative view to the recommendation proposed on the basis of the consideration of impacts associated with pests, weeds and vertebrate pests, including but not limited to wild dogs and feral pigs, on the surrounding properties and ecological communities, ecological habitats. Councillor Gleeson and Hanson, are you happy with that amended motion?
Yes.
I'll recall the vote. Those in favour? 7-0. 348. Somebody moved that we receive the report that is the operational plan review for the third quarter. Councillor Plum, second Councillor Roberts. Those in favour? Carried 7-0. Three of the four boxes are now starting to get coloured in. Any questions?
Mr Mayor, the red boxes are uncompleted, are they?
Yeah. Rick, 1432 reseal, did that get added back into the reseal program, or is it one that could now potentially do so?
We're still waiting on the grant, Mr Mayor.
Right.
It hasn't been decided.
It's not something that would be covered by the, potentially the tender we, no.
And Mr Mayor, it's also not covered under R2R. So,
Roads are limited to road, it's not just traffic network.
Okay.
Would it be different sealing or wouldn't be just coming out in reseal strength, they're resealing the runway with that?
It is slightly different. We do have a budget for that, but also going grant.
Offset it a little bit. It's an issue that's been there for a number of years. And the compliance with licence conditions is flagged as red because we're still undertaking our remediation options. Not that it's not being addressed, it's just the time it's taken to actually undertake the works. Other councillors?
Through you, Mr Mayor, just some clarity around some of those that are 3 reds. Economic Development Board establishment. It's the first of the,
Yep.
where we've got 3 reds. We're not going through with that, or we are, or?
I haven't been part of any real discussions that's come up with a scope or to be fair, it's a legacy thing that's just hung around the budget and the plan, and probably, unless council really wants to pick it up and grab it and run with it, I really think it's probably a 4th red and not appearing next year's plan would be my advice. I'm not saying that if there's not the will within the group to make it happen, that it couldn't be a good thing. I just personally don't have a real strong understanding of how to make it happen or the benefits that could come from it really at that level. So it's not been a priority that's been pursued whilst I've been sitting here.
No, that's right, Mr Mayor. And maybe it's a part of the reporting, like, and same for the next one, where it's the operating security screening at airport. We're just not required to do that.
Yeah, that changed after we adopted the plan.
Yeah, but maybe we need to have a mechanism in there to say it. We're not doing it, but there's an exception because we're no longer required to, or it's it just that it looks bad because we've got 3 sets of red, but maybe if we've got an asterisk and an exception report at the back to say that we're no longer required to.
Well, councillors, what we probably should have done actually was amend the operational plan to remove that requirement because it's not relevant really. It would have been the simplest way to deal with it.
Or that mechanism, yeah.
The first one that we just discussed is a bit different. Well, it's not really, if we don't intend to do it, we should pull it out. And secondly, yeah, but if it's just been let lapse, so 2 very good points. We can do that.
And even
Notice.
the next couple, well, I think there's been some progress on some of the stuff with the SCADA and telemetry, but it just still shows up as 3 reds.
Yeah, probably to be fair, limited because we're focused on other areas, Rick. We're still waiting for a bit of that, is that right?
It's part of the rapid water sewage alliance.
So it's been progressed by
Overall
others.
projects, being progressed.
Yep.
In combination with other councils.
So it's like probably a light red closer to orange because there's a little bit actually happening, it's just not.
No, that's right. That's just it, because the 3 reds catch your eye and they do look, after a little bit of investigation, not to be as bad as we haven't done anything at all.
To be fair, you've just picked on them apart from the other one that I raised, which was the DES licence conditions. So we're progressing very well. Commend the staff for, yeah, we're 3/4 of the year through, but there's a lot of activity happening and in significant quarters there's all 3 greens. So, yeah, and areas that in the community section that started the year in environmental protection as orange and have since gone to green, so they're projects that have been undertaken. There's a number of programs being ticked off across the area which has been done very well, so and in a timely manner, possibly more timely manner than we're perhaps used to, so I'm grateful to officers for that. Any further questions? 349, Works for Queensland funding applications, Councillor Arthur Levin-Rue. Councillors, you would be aware of a email communication from the CEO around a submission deadline, which was a hard limit that we had to meet. There was considerable conversation around this. These projects had been identified in budget workshops going back to November. And they are what they are. Any further discussion on this? Happy move. Councillor Peoples moves, seconded Councillor Plum. Those in favour? Carried 6-0. Councillor Hanson, Arthur's right to rejoin us. Nearly got through the day without concluding.
You really did.
Well, we've done that.
351, the financial report. Councillor Peoples moves that we receive that, seconded Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? Carried. Questions?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Gleeson.
There was a couple of little things there. Capricorn Highway, there was extended, actually, there's only been 1% of the budget spent so far, and we've only got another couple of months for this financial year. And then
That's, I'm jumping in, Mr. Mayor, that's the Capricorn Highway job, which, it's a new job, which will go after past the 30th of June. That's not, that amount isn't just for this financial year.
That's the first package of 8.5 million to be spent there. And it doesn't have a 30 June completion deadline like the other 10 contracts do.
that answers my question, because we're pretty close to the end of the financial year.
Well, I would expect, Rick, there'll be an increase in the expenditure there with things like gravel acquisition and so forth that may have occurred before the end of June.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there's drainage about to get underway, gravel supply as well, so that's going to pick up fairly significantly over the next month or two.
Okay.
Is that similar for the rural roads maintenance? Like there's only been 41% of the money's already spent, so is that going to be able to carry over? Or?
No, we won't need to be spent because flood damage has taken the balance of the rest of it.
Thank you.
That's what we were discussing yesterday when we looked at whether we amend what the actual budget for maintenance is, because we know that for the next probably 2 financial years, but certainly the one that we're in now and the next one, there will be a portion of our maintenance swallowed by capital expenditure related to restoration works.
Thank you.
It's just, as the engineer said, where's the crystal ball to know, because you could have a wet season that doesn't have a declared event in it, your maintenance bills go through the roof, or you could have a protracted dry period, which equally your maintenance bills go through the roof because your cost of providing water, for example. So we're very game to significantly lower your maintenance budget, because in ordinary run of things, you would hope that that flood damage capex does pick up a bit of slack. But what's an ordinary run of things, and what likelihood have we got of getting an ordinary run of things? Like this year's been okay, really, because we had a declared event that was all of the rain. Effectively, the rain that's fell outside of that has had probably minimal impact on the larger percentage of our area. It hasn't had an abnormal impact anyway that has been forecast. Any further questions? 361. Will somebody move the works report be received, please? Councillor Rogers, thank you. Councillor Plum, seconds. Those in favour? 7-0. Rick, anything here?
Councillor Arthur, still out of the room?
No, you just said that.
Oh, sorry.
Back, Councillor Gleeson.
That's right.
I can recommend a few good chiropractors if you need some assistance in turning your neck at 90 degrees to the right.
Oh, really? Goodness me.
No, Mr. Mayor, not really. Obviously, we're busy doing the TMR works now, catching up after the wet weather. Our flood damage expenditure is down through the months of February, March, April, due to us doing emergency repairs works under the 21 flood damage. So the 19 and 20 flood damage restoration works stalled a bit because of that. But now we've got a bit of dry weather, we're making hay while the sun shines.
And we're still pursuing the status of the completion date for the last event, is that right?
Yes.
Not the last event, the 20 event.
Yes, Mr Mayor, we're in the process of drafting a letter to QRA to try and get that extended. The reasons for that extension is obviously we've had another event. COVID has impacted on us as well. The other thing is that all our contractors are busy completing prior events. Also, it's the ability to track contractors off the coast with the COVID stimulus package and all the rest of everyone's busy. So we're in a very, very difficult position to try and complete the 2020 event by June 22. So we're asking for a 12-month extension.
Which we were fortunate to receive for the 19 event.
We were.
Mr Mayor, can I just ask the deadlines on any of this work on the Aramac Road, how are we progressing on it?
Yep, through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor, the job that the Bark Halden crew are doing has a deadline of June, end of June for it. Through the wet weather and so forth over the last couple of months, TMO have now asked us to accelerate the Bark Halden project.
Okay.
So we've moved the Aramac crew down onto that job as well.
Yep.
So that Aramac job will now stall. We'll just maintain it until we get this other project under control to complete by the end of June. And then the Aramac crew will then go back on the job over.
So obviously the Aramac job's got a later deadline.
It has, yes. It's not tied to this, the stimulus funding. So,
Okay. And you're happy we'll get it done by the end of June?
Given no more wet weather, our program is currently showing sort of mid-June to 20th of June, so it is tight. Get any further delays, we will be struggling.
Okay.
Questions? Okay, 371, can I have somebody move the information report from District Manager Alpha Jericho be received? Councillor Plum. Second, Councillor Arthur. Those in favour? 7-0. Questions?
Through you, Mr Mayor, the ATMs for Alpha is mentioned. Do we have a timeline around it, and where are we with Jericho?
Mr Mayor, the Alpha ATM will be, the delivery time should be around 4 to 5 weeks. So we're hoping it may just miss for the show that's held in Alpha, but it will definitely be up and running for the Alpha races. So it'll be there then. The Jericho one will be still just a work in progress to see where the company's going to go with that one as well.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Can I have somebody move the information report District Manager Aramac Marlborough be received? Councillor Hanson, second Councillor Gleeson, in favour. Carried, 7-0. Questions? Three, 8-2. Radio Club sponsorship request. That's you leaving the room, don't you? Yeah, mate. Right. Councillor Plum. Pardon? Can you move it? You can. Move Councillor Plum. Second it. Hanson, comments?
Comment?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'm 100% against this because this is hosting a junior bull riding school. That is really no benefit to the Parramatta community in a way. If we were assisting in a rodeo or a bull ride or something, there's only individuals, a handful of individuals that's going to get anything out of this. I
You
just
mean the
wonder,
participants?
sorry,
You mean the participants?
the participants, yeah, there's only the participants that are really going to get anything out of this. The community are not going to get anything out of it. If we support $1,500 to host a bull riding school, there's no reason why we can't support $1,500 for a tennis school or it's soccer or anything. I'm 100% against it. Thank you.
Councillor Plum, you moved the motion, would you like to write a reply?
I can see Councillor Gleeson's point of view. Yeah. It is going to help them though. It is going to.
Sorry, Councillor Plum.
The school's going to help these children, and if it gives them something else to do in their life, other than yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, that's-
Councillor Rogers?
I support it because they're expecting up to 40 participants, so 40 kids, young kids who, this is something that you don't really often get a chance to do. So those 40 participants though that are there over the weekend, there'll have to be a community organisation that benefits by catering or even just the accommodation. I do think it does support the community, but not only that, if the tennis club approached us, like you were saying, I mean, tennis, barrel races, football, everyone has a right to approach us for help, and I think that we probably look at them just as favourably. This is just something that's a little bit different, and probably those kids might not get a chance to do something like this if it doesn't go ahead. So I am for it.
Councillor Hanson, you seconded the motion.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I could see Councillor Gleeson's point of view, but I believe council would be the opportunity that we can possibly get. I'm not going to go with that for that reason.
Councillor Arthur?
Mr Mayor, yeah, well, especially a two-day event, I would hope it does turn into a bit of a community event, and there's a barbecue over there and something in the Aramat community. Because if a $500 request that can be dealt with just with the district managers, isn't it? It's just that it's a higher amount that it comes to us. Yeah, no, I'm happy to support.
Councillor Lisa, would you like to sum up?
I've said my bit.
Councillor Plum?
no, thank you.
Put the resolution to the vote. Those in favour? Opposed? 5-1. Three, 9-1. May somebody move the information report arranged by Corbyn be received?
Mr Mayor, shall we?
Oh, we should.
Councillor.
May somebody move the report be received? Councillor Arthur, second of Councillor Hanson.
Spelling your name for you.
It was arguing 5 in it, and wanted to auto suggest Thursday, council Thursday, that'd be interesting.
I'll take that.
Those in favour? Carried 7-0. Just an issue that's been raised, and I'm not sure whether you've had a chance to address this regarding the allotment, untidy allotment issue with the vacant block adjoining the garage was raised. Therefore, do we have any
I
action?
had put some questions out, and I think I was waiting for the local laws officer to provide some clarity about a couple of points.
Very good. Any other questions for the report?
Mr. Mayor,
That's all.
I don't want to sound like a crack record, but can we please have something done with the pond?
What is the situation with the pond, Jenny?
Mr. Mayor, I have spoken to the town supervisor about filling that in, but another option has been put to me, so which I think is in next year's budget list at this stage. He was wanting to approach another foreman about advice as to what to do, but I think that other supervisor is otherwise engaged and not accessible during work hours.
Would you like
Fill it in with concrete is what I've decided. So the simple is, and the suggestion put forward is that area be made into the Tropic of Capricorn sign, and something like a globe be made around the concrete pond when you fill it in.
So that's an item to be discussed through the budget process, is that right? Is that in our budget
Yes.
special operating? So we haven't actually done that
No.
discussion, that'll be subsequent this afternoon, so we'll go through it in more detail
So
in the budget.
yes, I do discuss it. Yes.
Very good, thank you, Jenny.
Just one more thing, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, definitely.
We were discussing the camp draft arena yesterday.
Yeah, being locked.
Is there any chance of us being able to actually lock the arena so that the users will read it as they find it, and it doesn't cost the next lot of users a lot of money to set it up again? If you just have the arena locked and leave all the other yards and things open so they can utilise the water if they're camping overnight. And a higher fee put on that arena so that whoever uses it, if they don't leave it as they find it.
So the second point's a budget issue,
Yeah.
so we'll bring that up in the budget, fees and charges. The first point is a suggestion for the CEO to look at the operational aspects of whether the arena should be locked and what that would look like. So we'll leave that with the CEO to investigate. And the second one is, I've got a whole manner of problems with, so we'll just need to discuss that as part of the fees and charges for the hire and venue hire.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not in favour of locking the arena. Right, for one, I don't know, it might be on my own, but I think that's there for people to do a bit of training and do a bit of something with their horses. If they don't do it there, where do they go? I suppose there's alternatives they've got to find, but I think it's a facility there for people to use.
Yeah, so I think that'll be the investigation the CEO is going to have to undertake, is what community expectations will be, what it will look like,
Okay.
how it will happen, all of that. Let's just look at the situation. I know councillors are very involved and understand the activities that happen there, but we need a more detailed report before we make any, or more detailed understanding of the complexity of the issue before we make a decision.
I think it's a bit like a football oval. We use it to train and people use it all the time. You know, our kids go there for sport, same with kids with horses. And maybe council's got to put a bit more money into, you know, putting a bit of loan and everything back there if we have so much use of it. But I don't really support locking it.
Right? Other comments for Jenny's report?
Yeah, I've got a question, please, Mr. Mayor, for Jenny. Is the EHO has said that we can't use the showgrounds kitchen for the provision of takeaway food. Does that mean when you've got a football cluster day or something there like that, the junior football can't sell takeaway food out of there, Jenny, or what's that actually mean?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we were approached by an individual about using that kitchen area like for a business purpose
Okay.
to just do takeaway food. Yeah, and that's where that advice came into it, yeah.
Our clubs can still use it on their days?
Clubs and Fine, it was for a private business to operate.
Commercial premises.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that.
Just while we're in for the, actually we have an agenda report item here, let's all go with that, 392. Jenny, would you like to speak through this?
To you, Mr. Mayor, we did do a poll. The suggestion is that community be involved, but there was just two very silly responses came back. They were warranted putting in here because I guess it wasn't a nice reflection to council what they were wanting to be called. So we just thought keep it simple, Barcode and Rec Park. That's what it is, it's a recreation park. Open to other
Good, I won't
suggestions.
change my terminology if council agrees with your recommendation. You're just trying to think of something.
No, Mr. Mayor, no.
He's thinking very serious, I can hear him.
How the hell really through the agenda? Any other alternatives? Do I have a mover?
Is it Barcode and Rec Park or is that shortened, like, will it be Barcode and Recreation Park?
No,
Or just
not, that resolution says it will be Barcode and Rec Park. We have a rec club or a rec, whatever, will be the rec park.
I'll move that, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hanson moves, second Councillor Plum. Debate? Those in favour? Opposed? 7-0. Just with respect to the wall, have we got any more information to hand about savings or not really?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The,
I may need to introduce a mayor on minute to resolve this, but just
I don't think so. No, thank you. So originally, councillors were talking about the solar for the boards. The original budget for that was $200,000. And when we amended the budget for the Alpha Community Care Building, we said we were taking 70,000 off the airport lease seal and whatever the balance was of the solar without allocating a figure. I took 70,000 off. That figure was less than that, so we only required 40,000, so there is actually 30,000 still in that funding to be put back into the solar. So it'd still be $11,000 short of the quote.
but effectively we fund the difference with what was originally earmarked for that anyway. Councillors, is that satisfied? So there'd be a contribution of council funds now limited not to 40,000 but to around the 10 to 11,000 for operational savings of 50,000. Councillors happy to allow officers to proceed, or do you want me to introduce a formal mayoral minute to do that? Right, happy to proceed. Very good. 310.1. With the report, can I have somebody move Angela's report, please? Councillor Rogers, seconded. Councillor Arthur, those in favour? 7-0. Questions, councillors?
through you, Mr Mayor, just with the Anzac Day services this year that we have attendance, are we organising for councillors or people to attend those, or ad hoc, or?
I personally am not. I will be attending the 3 services in Barcaldine, a dawn service to Lawn Cemetery and then parade. I most likely won't be able to attend lunch, unfortunately, but I was invited, so I want to. I was invited. Would you like me to extend?
No, I haven't had an invite.
No, I haven't either.
We might be meeting councils.
You can go.
Oh. I'm sorry. Maybe I will go now if I don't know what else has been invited. I better go.
So,
Okay.
that's all right.
So, emceeing duties in Alpha is going to be conducted by Chappie, but I won't be able to be at that. I won't be able to be at most other functions because of the timing clash. Councillor Peoples, will you be able to attend Aramac?
I've just got a few things going on, Mr Mayor.
It's
and-
unsure.
Yeah, unsure, but it'll be.
I'd really like it if somebody could attend the dawn service from Attleborough. Like, I'm not asking, it's just, it's a very special service and the community honours their veterans in a very good way. So if anybody was free to do that one, it's obviously a very early departure from this part of the world, but yeah, small but mighty little community. We can reinforce the movement. Good.
That's on Saturday, isn't it?
No, Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday, sorry, it's not Monday.
No, Monday's a holiday for it.
Yeah, but it's not, that's not what it is.
So between Andrew and the district manager, so we have the other 4 services in hand. And Jenny, the signs will be dropped there for people to help, for the RCL volunteers to help post the streets for their relevant services.
Miss me, yes, they have organised the signage will go up.
Okay.
So yeah, if I'm there, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
Haven't made up my mind if I'm coming for dawn service, so I thought I might slip in on Sunday. No. But for the next service, definitely.
Okay. You think you might be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've already, even though I've already discussed the weekend, Mr Mayor, I won't be available at all that weekend.
That's fine.
I'll be here that weekend as well, Mr Mayor, I'll be travelling Sunday.
We are at the start of March in Barcaldine. Some councillors want to join that. Join us in the march.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
And the wreaths have been organised, our official wreaths. Okay. Any more questions? Moving none.
Yeah, sorry. Weathering well. I missed somewhere in the past what that is.
That is a art tour show with Jenny Woodward, you know, the weather lady. So she's got her own performance, so she's coming out.
And what, art sort of paintings or?
No,
It's weather,
Oh, it's a,
weather one, yeah.
well, I'm just asking the question, councillor. I don't know what it's
Well,
about.
you've done the weather all.
But what does she
Comedy
do?
as well.
Oh, it's comedy.
Mental health as well, it's like talking,
I suppose you've got to go along to see what it
talk
is.
about the weather.
So by art, I was assuming physical art, but no, it's art and culture.
She will be here and
Right.
doing some sort of a talk and whatever else.
Thank you.
With that, I declare the meeting closed at 11:30. Thank you.